The day started like any other for Amy Wilson aboard the Starship Frontier. She moved through her morning routine unaware that alien eyes watched her every move from their cloaked ship nearby. These observers were not friendly. They were the Zorax, an all-female species with blue skin and eyes that glowed like distant stars. They had studied humans for years and feared them greatly. Commander Lyra stood on the bridge of the Zorax scout ship, her tall frame rigid with tension as she watched the human ship through their advanced sensors. Humans terrified the Zorax not because they were physically strong, but because they were unpredictable, adaptable, and worst of all, optimistic. In the face of certain doom traits, the Zorax could not. Amy worked as the lead engineer on the Frontier. She had short brown hair, a quick smile, and hands that could fix almost anything broken. The crew respected her not just for her technical skills, but for her calm approach to crisis. The Zorax had identified her as the most dangerous human aboard. Not because she carried weapons, but because she solved problems. Lyra addressed her crew. Today, we begin Operation Mindfall. We will break the human spirit without firing a single weapon. She explained, our scientists have developed technology that will create fear, confusion, and distrust among the crew. If successful, the humans will destroy themselves from within, saving us the risk of direct conflict. The Zorax deployed their first weapon, a series of microscopic drones released into the Frontier ventilation system. These tiny machines emitted signals that disrupted human sleep patterns, causing nightmares and preventing restful sleep. The Zorax believed that sleep-deprived humans would become irrational and turn against each other. 3 days later, Amy sat in the mess hall with her friend Beth Kim. Both women looked tired with dark circles under their eyes. Something weird is happening, Amy said quietly. I haven't slept properly in days. Every time I close my eyes, I see strange shapes and hear whispers me. 2. Beth admitted, I thought I was going crazy. The entire engineering team reports the same thing. Amy frowned. This is not a coincidence, she said, pulling out her tablet. Let's check who else is affected. Aboard the Zorax ship, Lyra received the first reports with satisfaction. Phase 1 proceeds as planned, she told her second-in-command. Soon the humans will become paranoid and suspicious, but the Zorax had miscalculated. Instead of turning against each other, the humans organized. Amy had gathered sleep reports from the entire crew. Discovering that everyone experienced similar symptoms instead of creating conflict, this shared problem united them. Captain Diane Foster called a ship-wide meeting. We are under some kind of attack, she announced. But the enemy has made a critical error. They have given themselves away by targeting all of us in the same way. Amy has a theory. Amy stood before the crew, her tired eyes still sharp. We believe an unknown technology is interfering with our brainwaves, specifically targeting sleep patterns. Since we all show the same symptoms, we can assume this is an external attack, not a ship system malfunction. Instead of panic, the crew responded with determination. Teams formed to sweep the ship for unknown technology, to create protective sleeping areas, and to modify sensors to detect unusual signals. The Zorax watched in confusion as their attack brought the humans closer together rather than tearing them apart. Lyra could not understand what she was seeing in our simulations. Humans became unstable and violent when deprived of sleep, she said to her science officer. What are we missing? The science officer hesitated. Perhaps, Commander, we underestimated their capacity for cooperation. She suggested humans have survived countless disasters on their homeworld by working together. Lyra dismissed this observation and ordered Phase 2. Initiated this, involved more direct action. The Zorax deployed larger drones that could create localized hallucinations, making crew members see threats that were not there. Surely this would create the chaos and fear. The Zorax expected. Amy was in engineering when she saw the wall appear to crack open, revealing the cold vacuum of space. Her heart raced, but her mind remained analytical. She knew the ship integrity alarms would sound if there was an actual breach. She approached the apparent rupture cautiously and reached out her hand past through the image holographic projection. She said aloud, or something similar. She tapped her communicator. Captain, I think I found another aspect of the attack. They can make us see things that aren't real within hours. Multiple crew members reported similar experiences. The Zorax expected terror. Instead, the humans treated each new hallucination as a puzzle to solve. They began documenting each occurrence, trying to identify patterns and develop countermeasures on the frontier. Captain Foster addressed her officers. They want us afraid. Amy has determined these projections appear most frequently in critical areas of the ship. They want to disrupt our operations by making us doubt our senses. Beth raised her hand. If these are projected images, they must have projectors somewhere on the ship. We need to find them. The crew began a methodical search using modified scanners Amy had developed. They located and neutralized several small devices hidden throughout the ship. Each discovery boosted morale rather than creating fear. The attack became a challenge to overcome aboard the Zorax ship. Lyra paced in frustration. The humans' response defied all predictions. The attacks meant to weaken them were instead making them more resilient. We must escalate. She decided the next phase will target their trust in leadership. The Zorax intercepted the Frontier's communication system, inserting false messages that appeared to come from Captain Foster. These messages contained contradictory orders and troubling statements designed to make the crew question their leader's judgment. When Amy received an order that contradicted safety protocols, she immediately recognized something was wrong. She went directly to the captain, showing her the message. I never sent this. Captain Foster confirmed they have accessed our communication systems, rather than hiding this development. The captain immediately informed the entire crew about the compromised communications Amy developed, a simple authentication system using code words and personal references that would be difficult for aliens to replicate. Lyra watched her carefully planned psychological warfare unravel with each passing hour. The humans not only resisted the attacks, they adapted and overcame them. The Zorax had studied human history but failed to understand a fundamental truth about humans. They thrived when challenged. In desperation, Lyra authorized the final phase, direct contact. The Zorax believed that revealing themselves as vastly technologically superior would break human spirit once and for all. A single Zorax scout ship decloaked directly in front of the Frontier, its sleek silver hull dwarfing the human vessel. On the bridge, Captain Foster ordered battle stations, but Amy suggested caution. They could have destroyed us at any time, she pointed out. This is something else. The Zorax transmitted a message in perfect English. Humans of the vessel Frontier. We are the Zorax. We have been testing your species' psychological resilience. You have failed to respond as expected. We demand to speak with your leader. Captain Foster straightened her uniform. We will meet them, she decided, but not alone. Amy, you're with me, aboard a small shuttle. Amy and Captain Foster approached the Zorax vessel, both women nervous but determined as they docked with the alien ship. They prepared for humanity's first official contact with an alien species. The airlock opened, revealing Commander Lyra and two Zorax guards. The aliens were tall with blue skin and silver eyes that seemed to look through rather than at the humans. Their long fingers ended in sharp points, giving them a predatory appearance. Welcome aboard, humans, Lyra said, her voice melodic yet cold. I'm Commander Lyra of the Zorax Confederation. We have been studying your kind. Captain Foster stood tall despite being shorter than the aliens. I am Captain Diane Foster of the Earth vessel Frontier. Why have you been attacking my ship and crew? Lyra tilted her head in what might have been confusion. We were not attacking, we were testing. Humans are dangerous, unpredictable. We needed to understand how you respond to various stimuli. Amy stepped forward. So the nightmares, the hallucinations, the false communications, those were all tests. Lyra confirmed your responses were unexpected. Our models predicted fear, paranoia, conflict. Instead, you demonstrated cooperation, adaptation, and resourcefulness traits we did not anticipate. Captain Foster frowned. These tests endangered my crew, and ship. Lyra seemed unmoved by this concern. The tests revealed much. Your species is more dangerous than we imagined. Not because you are violent, but because you are impossible to defeat through indirect means. Your adaptability makes you formidable. Amy studied the Zorax with open curiosity. Or maybe it just makes us good at surviving. She suggested, have your people faced extinction-level events in your history? Lyra seemed startled by the question. No, the Zorax developed in a stable star system. The humans exchanged knowing glances. Earth was not stable. Amy explained. Humans evolved on a planet with constant disasters, predators, climate shifts, diseases, and conflicts. We had to adapt or die. For the first time, Lyra showed something like understanding. Perhaps this explains the difference in our approaches. The Zorax value control and predictability. Humans embrace chaos. Captain Foster nodded. That's one way to look at it now. Perhaps we can move beyond tests and begin actual diplomatic relations. As the first meeting continued, Amy realized something profound. The Zorax feared humans not because they understood them, but because they didn't. Captain Martinez stepped forward on the platform, her posture straight but not aggressive. Honorable Council. She began. We understand your concerns about humanity. Our history, like that of many species, includes conflict but also great achievement, art, science, exploration, and a deep desire to connect with others in the universe. The council members remained expressionless, their silver eyes revealing nothing. As the captain continued, humans have overcome many challenges on our homeworld: natural disasters, resource limitations, climate change. These trials shaped us, made us adaptable. Emmy watched the council, carefully noticing subtle changes in their posture. As Captain Martinez spoke, they seemed particularly interested when she mentioned human resilience and problem-solving. The eldest council member finally responded, You speak of adaptation as a virtue. Human but unchecked adaptation leads to chaos, disruption of natural order. The Zorax have maintained peace for 5,000 years, through perfect harmony and predictability. Captain Martinez nodded in acknowledgement. Different evolutionary paths lead to different strengths. Honorable Elder, our adaptability allowed our survival, just as your order preserved your civilization. Neither approach is wrong, merely different. A younger council member leaned forward. Yet when our commander subjected your ship to psychological testing, you did not merely endure. You turned our methods against us. How can we trust a species that transforms challenges into weapons? Emmy recognized an opportunity to speak, remembering what she'd learned about Zorax culture with respect. Council member, we did not see your tests as weapons but as problems to solve. Humans naturally seek solutions. Our response was not aggression but innovation. Beth added quietly. We could have attacked your ship when we escaped. Instead, we chose to leave peacefully. The council conferred among themselves in their own language, their tones rising and falling, in patterns Amy was beginning to recognize as indicators of disagreement. The chamber remained silent, otherwise the few Zorax observers watching with intense interest. Finally, the eldest spoke again. We have reviewed the data from Commander Lyris. Encounters with your vessels, we find your unpredictability concerning, yet your restraint notable. You will remain on Verazin while we deliberate. Your delegation will be given limited access to our city under escort, after being dismissed from the council chamber. The humans were led to comfortable quarters in a tower overlooking the Zorax capital through large windows. They could see the geometric perfection of the alien city stretching to the horizon. This place is incredible, Amy said, studying the view yet somehow lifeless. Where are all the people? Their Zorax escort, who had introduced herself as Nara, responded. Our population density is carefully managed. Citizens remain in their designated sectors until required for work or community functions. Beth exchanged glances with Captain Martinez, both thinking the same thing. The Zorax society was as ordered and controlled as their technology. Captain Martinez turned to Nara. We appreciate your council's willingness to meet with us. Might we learn more about Zorax society while we wait for their decision? Nara hesitated, then nodded. Limited cultural exchange has been authorized. She said, I can show you permitted areas of the city tomorrow. That night, Amy could not sleep. The Zorax quarters, though comfortable, felt sterile, lacking the small imperfections that made human spaces feel lived in. She found herself missing the gentle hum of the Aurora's engines and the subtle creaks of a vessel moving through space. In the morning, Nara arrived. To escort them through the city, the streets were wider than necessary. The buildings spaced with mathematical precision. Everything gleamed in metallic shades of silver and blue. Even the gardens featured plants growing in perfect geometric patterns. Where are the children? Beth asked, noticing the absence of young Zorax among the few citizens they encountered. Nara seemed confused by the question. Young are raised in educational centers. She explained they join society when development is complete. The captain asked carefully. And how is Zorak's leadership determined through testing and selection? Nara answered, those who demonstrate perfect alignment with Zorak's values and superior predictive capacity are chosen for leadership positions. Emmy studied the Zoraks they passed in the street, noticing how similar they appeared in height, posture, and movement. Individuality seemed minimized in Zorak society, the opposite of human culture, which celebrated uniqueness. As they toured a Zorak science facility, Amy noticed something interesting. Despite their advanced technology, the Zorak's approach to research appeared incremental testing, small variations of established methods rather than exploring new approaches. Amy asked Nara about this aspect of Zorak's science. Why pursue research if you value stability? Nara considered the question. Perfect stability requires perfect control. She explained, we research to maintain balance, not to disrupt it. The humans began to understand the fundamental difference between their species. The Zoraks had evolved to perfect an unchanging system, while humans had evolved to adapt to constant change. Neither approach was wrong, but they represented opposing philosophies. On the third day of their stay, the humans were summoned back to the council chamber. This time they found only 3 council members present, including the eldest. Humans of Earth. The eldest began, we have reached a preliminary decision regarding your species. The Zoraks will neither seek conflict nor close alliance with humanity. Instead, we propose a boundary zone between our territories with limited controlled contact. Captain Martinez considered this proposal. May I ask the reasoning behind your decision? The elder Zoraks gestured to Amy. Your engineer has studied our systems, our society. You have observed our city. What have you concluded, human? Amy stepped forward, carefully choosing her words. Your civilization values order, certainty, and stability. Ours embraces change, adaptation, and individual innovation. These differences make full integration difficult, but not cooperation. We can establish protocols for communication, exchange of knowledge, perhaps even trade. The council member nodded. The Zoraks value predictability, yet humans thrive on unpredictability, a concerning paradox. However, we recognize potential benefits in limited exchange. Both species might gain through careful, controlled interaction. Captain Martinez accepted the proposal on behalf of Earth, acknowledging it as a reasonable first step toward greater understanding between their peoples. The details would need to be negotiated, but the principle was established. Humans and Zoraks would maintain separate territories while establishing diplomatic relations. As they prepared to return to the Aurora, Amy requested permission to speak with Commander Lyra before their departure. Surprisingly, the request was granted. Lyra met Amy in a small chamber near the docking area. The commander seemed different than during their first encounters, less rigid, more curious. Why did you wish to speak with me? Human. Amy smiled. I wanted to thank you. Commander Lyra tilted her head in confusion. Thank me for what? Psychological warfare, imprisonment, for helping me understand. Amy explained, your tests. Your attempts to break us showed me the fundamental difference between our species and why understanding each other is so important. Lyra studied Amy carefully. You are unlike other humans. I've observed you seek to understand, rather than overcome. Amy shook her head gently. That's a very human trait, Commander. Curiosity is one of our defining characteristics alongside adaptability. We want to know things to understand the universe and those who share it with us. For the first time, Lyra showed what might have been a smile, a slight upward curve of her lips. Humans are chaotic, unpredictable, she said. Yet perhaps that is not entirely negative, as the human delegation prepared to depart. Verizon. Amy took one last look at the Zorak city, understanding now why it felt so strange to human sensibilities. It was perfect, unchanged, timeless, beautiful in its way, but fundamentally alien to a species that thrived on change and adaptation. Aboard the Aurora, Captain Martinez sent their report to Earth Command detailing the diplomatic breakthrough and the proposed boundary zone. The captain then called Amy to her ready room. Your insights were invaluable, she told the engineer. You understood the Zoraks better than any of us. Amy shrugged. Slightly. I just recognized what they feared about us and why that fear was both justified and misplaced. Humans are unpredictable. It's our greatest strength and what makes us dangerous in their eyes. The captain nodded thoughtfully. Do you think peaceful relations are possible long term? I considered this the Zorax fear chaos above all else, and to them, humanity represents chaos embodied, but they also value knowledge. She said slowly, I believe coexistence is possible if we respect their need for order while they learn to accept our need for freedom. As the Aurora began its journey home, Amy spent her off-duty hours reviewing the data she'd collected about Zorax technology and society. She believed understanding was the key to peace, yet she wondered if the Zorax could ever truly understand humanity, just as she questioned if humans could ever fully comprehend the Zorax mind. 2 months later, Amy stood beside Admiral Chen in Earth Command headquarters as the Admiral reviewed the final treaty establishing the human Zorax neutral zone. This is a historical moment. Admiral Chen said not quite friendship, but mutual recognition and respect. I nodded, it's a beginning. The Zorax will never be comfortable with human unpredictability, but they can learn to value it just as we can learn from their stability and order. 2 weeks after their escape from the Zorax vessel, the Frontier arrived at Earth Space Station. Alpha Captain Foster and Amy were immediately summoned to Earth Command headquarters, located in what was once called Colorado, a region known for its mountain ranges and natural defenses. Admiral Laura Chen listened carefully as Captain Foster and Amy described their encounter with the Zorax. The Admiral was a veteran of the resource wars, her face bearing the subtle scars of past conflicts. Her eyes, however, remained sharp and analytical. So you believe these Zorax have been observing humanity for some time, the Admiral said, reviewing the data Amy had stolen from the alien vessel. Amy nodded. According to their records, they've studied at least 5 other human ships over the past 3 years, all in different sectors. Their interest in us seems systematic. Captain Foster added, they seem particularly concerned with how humans respond to stress and fear. Their psychological warfare suggests they want to understand our breaking points. Admiral Chen frowned. This is concerning but not unexpected. We always knew first contact would come eventually. She stood looking out the reinforced windows at the rebuilt Denver skyline. What troubles me most is their apparent fear of human unpredictability. Beth, who had joined them for the debriefing, spoke up with respect. Admiral, I think that's actually our advantage. The Zorax rely on predictive models and established protocols. When we didn't react as expected, they didn't know how to respond. The Admiral turned to Amy. You spent the most time studying their technology. What can you tell us about their capabilities? Amy activated her tablet, displaying the information she'd gathered. Their ships use some kind of crystalline technology that integrates computing and energy generation. Their weapons are energy-based, similar to our phase cannons, but more efficient. Their shields operate on shifting frequencies, making them difficult to penetrate consistently. And their weaknesses? Admiral Chen asked directly. Amy hesitated. They seem to struggle with rapid adaptation. Their decision-making is hierarchical, requiring approval from their council. This creates delays. They also depend heavily on their predictive models. When those models fail, they become uncertain. The Admiral nodded thoughtfully, then made her decision. We need to prepare for potential conflict while pursuing diplomatic options. She said, Earth Command will dispatch a small fleet to your last encounter coordinates, but their primary mission will be contact, not combat. 3 days later, Amy found herself reassigned to a new vessel. The Aurora, Earth's most advanced ship equipped with technology inspired by what she'd learned. From the Zorax, Captain Foster remained in command of the Frontier. While Beth joined Amy on the Aurora, Admiral Chen addressed the assembled crew of the Aurora. Before their departure, your mission is complex, she explained. You will attempt to establish peaceful contact with the Zorax while gathering intelligence on their capabilities and intentions. You are authorized to defend yourselves but not to provoke conflict. As the Aurora departed Earth orbit, Amy worked with the engineering team to implement modifications based on Zorax technology she had studied. The alien crystalline systems were fascinating, operating on principles that seemed almost organic in nature. The journey to the border of Zorax territory took 17 days, during which Amy rarely left engineering, her focus entirely on preparing the ship for potential encounters. The crew watched her with a mixture of respect and concern as she worked tirelessly, often forgetting to eat or sleep. Beth finally intervened. Amy, you need rest, she said firmly, finding her friend buried under a console rerouting power systems. You won't help anyone if you collapse. Amy emerged, her face streaked with grease and exhaustion. I'm almost finished, she said. The Zorax will be tracking our approach. I want to give us every advantage. The Aurora Captain Olivia Martinez called a meeting as they approached Zorax space. We will maintain open communications and non-threatening posture. She told her officers, we represent Earth, but we also represent humanity. Our goal is understanding, not confrontation. Amy presented her findings to the ship's senior staff. The Zorax society appears to be entirely female. She explained, at least based on the individuals we encountered, their biology is similar to ours in basic structure, but their cellular regeneration is superior. They live longer than humans and heal faster. And their psychology. The first officer asked, they value order, predictability, and hierarchy. Amy continued, they seem genuinely disturbed. By human adaptability and our tendency to find unconventional solutions, they see it as chaotic and dangerous. As the Aurora entered the region where the frontier had encountered the Zorax, they detected no alien vessels. The area appeared empty yet. Amy felt certain they were being observed. Captain Martinez ordered standard greeting messages broadcast on all frequencies in both English and what Amy had determined might be the Zorax language. The Aurora continued at reduced speed, a deliberate sign of peaceful intent. 3 days passed with no response. The crew grew increasingly tense, aware that at any moment, Zorax vessels might appear. Yet the silence continued. Amy spent those days refining her understanding of Zorax technology and language. The more she studied, the more she became convinced that communication was possible. These aliens feared humans, but their fear stemmed from misunderstanding, not inherent hostility. On the 4th day, sensors detected a small object approaching the Aurora. Analysis indicated it was a probe, not a weapon. The captain ordered it allowed to approach while maintaining defensive readiness. The probe stopped 500 meters from the Aurora, hovering silently. Amy studied the readings. It's scanning us, she told the captain, absorbing our transmissions, probably analyzing our technology. Captain Martinez made a decision. Activate the communication system Amy developed, she ordered. Let's see if we can speak directly to whoever is controlling that. Probemi had created a simplified communication method based on mathematical principles that both species would understand. She sent a series of signals through the probe, representing peace, contact, and exchange. The probe remained motionless for several minutes, then suddenly accelerated away, disappearing from sensors at an impossible speed. The Aurora crew waited, uncertain whether their message had been received or understood. 2 hours later, sensors detected multiple large vessels emerging. From what appeared to be folded space, the Zorax had arrived not with a single ship, but with a fleet of 7 vessels, each larger than the Aurora. Their silver hulls gleaming against the blackness of Space Bridge 2 engineering. Captain Martinez called prepare for possible emergency maneuvers. Amy studied the Zorax fleet with professional admiration. Their technology was elegant, efficient, and beautiful in its own alien way. She noticed something interesting about their formation. It appeared defensive rather than offensive. The Zorax expected humans to be aggressive. We should maintain position, Amy suggested to the captain. They want to see what we'll do if we retreat. They might interpret it as deception. If we advance, they will see it as aggression. Captain Martinez agreed, ordering the Aurora to hold position while continuing to broadcast greeting messages. The standoff continued for nearly an hour, neither side advancing or retreating. Finally, one of the Zorax vessels transmitted a message in halting English. Humans of Earth vessel, we receive your signals, we will communicate. A channel opened, revealing Commander Lyra, her silver eyes showing recognition when she saw Amy on the bridge screen. We meet again, human engineer, she said, her voice conveying what might have been respect. Captain Martinez stepped forward. I am Captain Olivia Martinez of the Earth vessel Aurora. We come seeking peaceful contact with the Zorax people. Lyra seemed to consider this. The Council has authorized limited communication, she finally said. You will follow our lead vessel to designated coordinates for discussion. Failure to comply exactly with our instructions will be considered hostile action. After the transmission ended, the captain turned to her officers' recommendations. Amy spoke first. They could have attacked immediately, but didn't. The fact that Lyra is communicating at all suggests the Zorax are curious about us. Despite their fear, I think we should comply, but remain alert. The captain nodded, agreed, set course to follow their vessel, but maintain defensive systems at ready status. The Aurora followed the Zorax flagship to a region of space containing a small uninhabited planet. The Zorax directed them to establish orbit, then invited Captain Martinez and a small team to meet on the planet's surface neutral territory. The away team consisted of Captain Martinez, Amy Beth, and 2 security officers. They descended to the surface in a shuttle, finding a barren, rocky landscape under a pale blue sky. The Zorax shuttle landed 300 meters away. As the humans approached on foot, they saw Commander Lyra emerge with 4 Zorax officers, all armed but with weapons holstered. The 2 groups met in the center of a flat, rocky plain. The wind, the only sound. Captain Martinez spoke first. "We appreciate this opportunity for direct communication, Commander Lyra. We seek to understand your people and establish peaceful relations." Lyra studied the humans carefully. "Our council remains divided on how to proceed with human contact," she said. "Some believe you represent an unacceptable threat to Zorax security. Others are curious about your species' rapid technological advancement. I noticed subtle differences in Lyra. Since their last meeting, the commander seemed less rigid, more willing to engage directly. She wondered if their escape had changed how Lyra viewed humans. 1 year into her assignment as human liaison to the Zorax, Amy Wilson had established a routine of sorts each morning. She met with Commander Lyra to discuss diplomatic matters before attending various cultural exchange sessions with Zorax scientists, artists, and leaders. The afternoons were devoted to technical collaboration, carefully managed exchanges of knowledge that benefited both species without revealing strategic secrets. The Zorax remained cautious around humans, but small changes had appeared throughout their interactions. Some Zorax scientists now asked unprompted questions. A behavior previously discouraged. Others had begun experimenting with less structured research approaches. Amy documented these subtle shifts in her reports to Earth Command, noting that Zorax society was adapting to human contact while maintaining their core values of order and predictability. Humans too were learning from the Zorax, incorporating some of their efficiency and precision into Earth designs. One morning, Commander Lyra arrived at their scheduled meeting looking troubled. Amy had learned to read Zorax expressions despite their alien features and immediately sensed something was wrong. "What's happened, Commander?" she asked as they walked through the perfectly maintained gardens outside the diplomatic complex. Lyra hesitated, unusual for her. "We have detected an anomaly at the edge of Zorax space," she finally said, "a disruption in space-time patterns unlike anything in our records." I felt a chill run through her. "Is it natural or technological?" Unknown, Lyra responded. "The Council has dispatched research vessels, but they will require 17 days to reach the anomaly location. The Council has voted not to inform human authorities until we have more information." Amy stopped walking. "Why are you telling me then?" Lyra turned to face her directly. "I have observed that when Zorax methods fail, human approaches sometimes succeed. The Council's predictive models cannot analyze this phenomenon. It exists outside known parameters." I understood the significance of Lyra's admission. The commander was placing trust in human unpredictability, something unthinkable. "A year ago, I need to inform Earth Command." Amy said this anomaly could affect both our species. Lyra nodded. "I anticipated this response and have prepared data for transmission." Back in her quarters, Amy reviewed the Zorax sensor readings. The anomaly appeared as a rippling distortion in space-time, growing slowly but steadily. At the edge of Zorax territory, she immediately recognized this was beyond either human or Zorax experience. During an emergency communication with Admiral Chen, Amy explained the situation. "The Zorax have detected something unusual. Admiral, I believe this warrants joint investigation." Admiral Chen listened carefully to Amy's assessment. "Agreed, Wilson. This sounds like an opportunity to test our diplomatic framework. The Aurora will rendezvous with you at Verazine in 5 days. Captain Martinez has been briefed." When Amy informed Lyra that Earth was sending a vessel, the commander seemed relieved, though she tried to hide it. "The Council has authorized joint investigation," she said with a small gesture that Amy had come to recognize as satisfaction. 5 days later, the Aurora arrived at Verazine looking sleeker and more advanced than when Amy had last seen it. Upgrades inspired by Zorax technology were visible in its hull design and propulsion system. Beth, now serving as chief engineer, greeted Amy with a warm hug as she boarded. "The ship looks amazing," Amy said, admiring the improvements. Beth grinned. "We've incorporated some Zorax principles while maintaining human creativity, the best of both approaches." Captain Martinez welcomed Commander Lyra aboard with formal diplomatic courtesy. The Zorax officer moved through the Aurora with careful observations, noticing both the Zorax influences and the distinctly human elements. The curved corridors, the personalized crew quarters, the communal spaces designed for interaction rather than efficiency. "We will proceed to the anomaly at maximum velocity," Captain Martinez announced once everyone was settled. 23 hours at current capabilities. The journey provided time for the joint human Zorax team to develop investigation protocols. Lyra insisted on caution, while Beth advocated for more direct scanning approaches. The healthy tension between Zorax precision and human intuition produced a comprehensive plan that neither would have developed alone. As they approached the anomaly, the Aurora sensors detected what the Zorax had reported: a rippling distortion in the fabric of space itself, growing slowly but steadily, its effects already spanning several thousand kilometers. Standard scans revealed little. The phenomenon absorbed or reflected most sensor beams. Amy studied the readings with growing concern. "It doesn't match any known natural phenomenon," she told Captain Martinez, "and it's definitely not Zorax or human technology." Lyra agreed. "Our records contain nothing similar in 5,000 years of space exploration." The captain made a decision. "We need more information launch probes to gather data from multiple vectors." The Aurora deployed specialized sensor probes designed to approach the anomaly from different angles, gathering as much information as possible. Before the distortion affected their systems, the human Zorax team watched anxiously as data began streaming back. Beth was the first to notice a pattern in the readings. "The anomaly isn't random," she said, pointing to recurring wave patterns in the sensor data. "It's almost like a pulse or a heartbeat." Lyra studied the readings with growing alarm. "This suggests artificial origin and unknown technology of immense power. The Zorax Council must be informed immediately." However, noticed something else in the data. "The pulses aren't just regular. They're changing following a mathematical sequence," she said. "Look at the intervals between peaks." Captain Martinez recognized. "The implication you're suggesting this is communication." Amy nodded. "It's trying to establish contact. The question is, with whom?" The revelation created tension among the Zorax officers. Their species had encountered no other advanced civilizations beyond humanity. The possibility of an unknown third species challenged their carefully ordered understanding of the galaxy. Lyra conferred with her team, then addressed Captain Martinez. "The Council has authorized limited response protocols. If this is communication, we should attempt to answer." Beth had already begun analyzing the mathematical sequence underlying the pulses. "It's based on prime numbers." She explained, "a universal mathematical concept that any advanced civilization would recognize." With Captain Martinez's authorization, Beth used the Aurora's main deflector to emit a response pattern, matching the mathematical sequence, but with subtle variations to indicate intelligent reception. The entire crew held their breath as the signal was transmitted. For several minutes, nothing changed. The anomaly continued its regular pulsing pattern. Then suddenly it shifted, the ripples realigning into a new configuration. The probes registered massive energy spikes throughout the distortion. Lyra moved closer to Amy, both watching the main view screen with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. "This represents first contact with an unknown species," the commander said, her voice uncharacteristically uncertain. "The Zorax have protocols for such events, but they assume years of study before direct communication." We smiled slightly. "We humans tend to improvise in these situations." The anomaly suddenly expanded, a circular opening appearing at its center, like an iris dilating. The space beyond seemed to shimmer with colors that human eyes struggled to process. Something was emerging. Captain Martinez ordered yellow alert shields up, but weapons powered down. "We want to appear cautious, but not hostile." The object that emerged defied easy description. It appeared partially translucent with a crystalline structure that constantly shifted and reformed itself. approximately 30 meters in diameter. It moved with deliberate precision. Stopping 5 kilometers from the Aurora sensors indicate it's composed of both matter and energy. Beth reported somehow existing simultaneously in multiple states impossible by our understanding of physics. A transmission reached the Aurora not through conventional communications but directly interfacing with the ships. Computer systems images and mathematical symbols appeared on screens throughout the bridge. Amy and Lyra studied the transmission together. "This is language," Amy said, "but not like anything I've seen before." The Zorax officer agreed. "The symbols contain mathematical principles beyond our current understanding, yet recognizable in basic form for ours." The human Zorax team worked to decipher the alien communication, their different approaches complementing each other. Amy applying intuitive leaps, while Lyra provided methodical analysis. Gradually patterns emerged suggesting not just communication but an invitation. Captain Martinez called a meeting of senior staff, including Lyra and her Zorax officers. "Our best interpretation suggests they're inviting representatives to enter the anomaly." She explained the risks are unknown, but the opportunity for peaceful contact is significantly. Her reported that the Zorax Council had authorized her to represent their species should direct contact occur. "We must proceed with extreme caution," she added. "But the potential knowledge gain justifies limited risk." The captain looked at Amy. "Your expertise in both human and Zorax communication makes you our obvious representative. Wilson, are you willing?" Amy felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders, representing not just humanity, but being part of first contact with an entirely new species. "Yes, Captain," she said. "I volunteer." Back on the frontier, the crew waited anxiously for news from their captain, and chief engineer. Communications with the Zorax vessel remained open but tense. Beth paced the bridge, her eyes fixed on the massive alien ship visible on the main screen aboard, the Zorax ship. The diplomatic meeting continued in a large chamber designed to intimidate visitors. Its ceiling stretched impossibly high, and strange symbols covered the walls. Captain Foster maintained her composure, while Amy studied everything with undisguised curiosity. Commander Lyra seemed unsettled by Amy's interest. "Humans are unusual," she noted. "Most species react with fear when brought aboard our vessels. Yet you examine our technology with enthusiasm." Me smiled slightly. "It's beautiful," she admitted. "The way you manipulate energy fields for artificial gravity. Your propulsion systems, they must be incredibly efficient." The engineer in me can't help but appreciate good design. Lyra exchanged glances with her officers. The Zorax had expected the humans to be intimidated instead. This human female showed interest and understanding of their technology. It was disturbing. Captain Foster redirected the conversation. "We should discuss the future of our interactions. Commander Lyra, your psychological warfare against my ship and crew was an act of aggression. Yet I believe we can move forward peacefully." The Zorax commander considered this for several moments. The tests were necessary. She finally said, "Humans are an unknown variable in this sector of space. Your expansion has been rapid, unpredictable. You build outposts and send ships without invitation. We explore," Amy said simply. "It's what humans do. We want to learn to understand the universe. Understand or conquer," Lyra challenged. Both women became aware of a subtle shift in the room. Several more Zorax officers had entered, silently positioning themselves around the humans. The atmosphere had changed from tense diplomacy to something more dangerous. Captain Foster recognized the threat. Her hand moved slightly closer to her emergency beacon. "We come in peace, Commander, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." The newly arrived Zorax officer whispered something to Lyra. The commander straightened her already tall frame. "The Council has reached a decision," she announced. "Humans present an unacceptable risk to Zorax security. You will remain here while we determine the best course of action." Captain Foster stepped forward. "That is unacceptable. We came in good faith for diplomatic talks, not to be detained." Amy touched the captain's arm gently. "I think the commander is saying we're guests for now," she said carefully, her eyes conveying a different message. "Stay calm." By time, Lyra nodded. "You understand correctly. You will be provided accommodations while we consult with our leadership." After the humans were escorted to secured quarters, Captain Foster activated a small device that would block monitoring systems. Amy had slipped it to her during their exchange. "They have no intention of letting us go," the captain said quietly. Amy nodded, checking the room for surveillance technology. "The Zorax fear us because they can't predict us," she whispered. "They rely on models and simulations, but humans don't fit their algorithms." Meanwhile, on the frontier, Beth had organized the crew. No response from the captain or Amy. She told the officers in the emergency meeting, "And the Zorax are blocking our hails. This is looking more like a hostage situation than a diplomatic exchange." "The weapons," officer leaned forward. "We could target their propulsion systems, force them to release our people." Beth shook her head. "We don't know what kind of weapons they have, and they might harm the captain and Amy. We need another approach in their quarters." Aboard the Zorax vessel, Amy had discovered something interesting about the alien ship systems. The walls themselves seemed to carry data similar to fiber optics, but integrated into the structure. She carefully removed a small panel revealing pulsing blue light along crystalline pathways. "What are you doing?" the captain asked, keeping watch at the door. Amy grinned, learning their language. She said softly, "These pathways carry information. I think I can access their systems." While Amy worked with her, small toolkit Commander Lyra met with the Zorax High Council via holographic communication. "The human vessel remains in position," Council Leader Venra said. Her silver eyes narrowed. "These humans show no fear, no." Lyra agreed. "They adapt quickly to every situation. Our psychological profiling has proven inadequate." Council Leader Venra considered this information. "How dangerous are they?" Lyra hesitated. The question was complex. The humans carried primitive weapons, and their ship was technologically inferior. Yet there was something about them, something unpredictable that made the Zorax uncomfortable. "They solve problems in ways we do not anticipate." She finally said, "They see opportunities where we see only obstacles." Venra made her decision. "Hold them until we can analyze their vessel and technology thoroughly. If they resist, eliminate them." Aboard the frontier, Beth had developed a plan. "We know the Zorax use sophisticated energy fields." She told the crew these fields must require significant power. "We can detect those power signatures and potentially disrupt them without causing permanent damage." The crew began modifying their sensors to detect the specific energy patterns used by Zorax technology. It was delicate work requiring insights gained from their earlier encounters with Zorax devices. The ship they could now see clearly seemed to shimmer slightly, as if wrapped in layers of energy. Inside their quarters, Amy had made progress with the Zorax systems. "It's amazing," she told Captain Foster. "They use a base 12 mathematics for their computer systems, and their language is structured around energy states, rather than distinct words." The captain looked impressed. "Can you use this to contact the frontier?" Amy nodded. "Working with nimble fingers, I think." "So, and maybe more, their security systems are sophisticated, but they're designed to prevent attacks they recognize, not creative workarounds." Hours passed while both crews worked, the humans demonstrating the ingenuity that had allowed their species to survive countless disasters on Earth, while the Zorax relied on established protocols and hierarchical decision-making. Me finally sat back with satisfaction. "I have access," she whispered to Captain Foster. "Not to everything, but enough to open a secure channel to the frontier, and I can access their sensor logs. They have been studying us for months." The captain frowned. "That explains how they knew so much about our systems. Can you send a message to Bethany?" Nodded already, composing a brief encoded transmission that would appear as normal system traffic to Zorax monitors. "And the frontier?" Beth received the message with relief. "They're alive." She told the crew, and Amy has accessed some of the Zorax systems she's sending us technical data we can use. The Zorax remained unaware that their captives had not only established communications, but were actively gathering intelligence about Zorax technology. Amy discovered something concerning. They plan to board the frontier. She told Captain Foster they're preparing a team right now. Aboard the Zorax vessel, Commander Lyra prepared her boarding team. The humans on the frontier remained suspiciously calm, despite losing contact with their captain. The Zorax expected panic or aggressive action. Instead, the human ship maintained position, running only basic systems. Something is wrong, Lyra thought. but she could not identify what the boarding would proceed as planned. The Zorax launch bay opened a sleek transport vessel, departed heading toward the frontier. The human ship made no move to evade or defend itself. Lyra watched from the command center, expecting resistance at any moment. Inside their quarters, Amy and Captain Foster monitored the situation through Amy's improvised access to Zorax systems. They're sending 12 soldiers to secure our ship. The captain said, "We need to warn Bethany." Sent another encoded message, then continued exploring the Zorax network. "Wait," she said suddenly. "There's something else. They have records of other human ships, ones we've lost contact with. They have been testing humans for longer than we realized." Captain Foster looked grim. "We need that information, and we need to get out of here, aboard the frontier." Beth received the warning and implemented her plan. As the Zorax transport approached, she activated the modified shields. The human ship suddenly emitted an unusual energy pulse targeted specifically at Zorax technology. On the Zorax vessel, alarms blared, consoles flickered, and several systems temporarily failed. Commander Lyra rushed to the command center. "What happened?" she demanded. "Energy surge from the human vessel. Her officer reported they somehow targeted our specific field harmonics. Impossible. They should not have that knowledge." Lyra suddenly realized her error in the Zorax effort to study human psychology. They had revealed much about their own technology. The humans had been learning while being tested. In the confusion, Amy seized her opportunity, accessing door controls and security systems throughout the Zorax ship. "Now, Captain," she said as their quarter doors slid open. Captain Foster moved with purpose, following Amy's directions through the corridors toward the shuttle bay. Zorax crew members were distracted by the system's failure, giving the humans precious minutes to implement their escape in the frontier. Beth continued the carefully calibrated energy pulses, not damaging the Zorax vessel, but keeping its systems disrupted. The Zorax boarding craft veered off, unable to maintain its approach. "Vector," Commander Lyra realized too late what was happening. "Intruder alert," she ordered security to the shuttle bay. "The humans are attempting escape."